Today I am featuring one of the great theologians and professors of the 20th century, G.C. Berkouwer. Now, Berkouwer is a really interesting guy. He actually was a professor, theology professor, and seminary professor at the Free University in Amsterdam. That was the name of it. One of the, well, probably considered to be the world's leading seminary. And Berkouwer, during that period, I would say we're talking about the period probably mid 20th century between 1950 and around 1970, was considered to be the leading theologian in the world in all of Reformed theology. Interesting situation. He actually was a professor of R.C. Sproul and one of R.C. Sproul's mentors. R.C. Sproul went to Amsterdam after he received his graduate degree, and then he got his Master's of Divinity. Berkouwer was a leading influence on Sproul and did a lot for Sproul. Sproul had to learn Dutch when he went there. But there are three of his works. The first one I want to talk about is part of an 18-volume set, and this is just one volume. And I would say, I think it was the early 1940s, maybe even early 1950s, right around that era, when Berkouwer released the 18-volume Studies in Dogmatics. And this is just one of the volumes. I actually have two. This is interesting writing, because Berkouwer, he's a little bit tough to pin down. I like to call him a philosopher, a Christian with a philosopher bent. Definitely a philosophical tone in his writings. Very prolific, and it really takes a lot of discernment. A lot of people say that Berkouwer had there was an early Berkouwer and a late Berkouwer. And what is meant by that is that later in Berkouwer's career, towards the end of the series, he actually wrote the volumes over a period of 20 years. He actually became more liberal in his theology. This particular volume was early on in the series, and I'm actually still in the process of reading this because it's about an 800 or 900 page book. But I think he makes a lot of tremendously good points in here. During the first part of the book, he will take on dualism, and he pretty much dismisses dualism, which is good. So there's a lot of good truth in theology at this stage of his career. Another volume that I have, two other volumes from the set. This one's on providence, the doctrine of providence, and again, very solid theology in that one. And then this one even better, because again, all three of these volumes are considered to be early Berkouwer, before he kind of drifted, you might say, into his liberal theology. But this one is an excellent, excellent read. Very solid. The person of Christ. Deep, prolific truths. And very, very good writing in this one. I actually think out of all of the 18 volumes, this is probably the best one. Because, like I said, it's very early Berkouwer. 1954, I believe, is when he wrote The Person of Christ. Again, part of his Studies in Dogmatics series. So, G.C. Berkouwer,